Alright, so before we start with our painting today, let's have a look at all the materials that I am using. This is a Winsor & Newton watercolor set, and you can see how much I love it. Then I have the paper. So the most important thing for the paper is 100% cotton, which will always be mentioned on the label, so don't forget to check that. 100% cotton, and then 300 GSM or more. And the third thing is about the texture of the paper. Try not to get very rough paper if you are a beginner, and I don't recommend smooth papers because they are not very great for watercolors. So this one, fine grain, is perfect, as you can see here. And then I have my round brush from Rustic Door. It is a number 8. Round brushes are best and the most useful for beginners. And then I have 2 jars of water for watercolors. 2 jars are a must. One for washing your brush every time you are finished with one color, and always keep this one clean so that you have clean water to apply whenever you have to on your paper. And then we'll just go ahead and see what we are going to paint today. Alright, so today's exercise is a very simple one with which you can have lots of fun and you can just enjoy the process. And as you know that watercolor might take a little time to dry, so I also have my hair dryer here to speed up the process. So if you are painting with me, you also would like to grab one, or you can also watch this later and do it then. Wet in wet is painting on a wet surface, and wet on dry is painting on a dry surface. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my clean water and I'm just applying it on the paper like this, sideways. Always be gentle with your brush. That's it. And then from this set I'm using my cerulean blue, and then I'm just dropping it here. So if you're painting with me, you can just use the same technique. Use any blue that you like, and you can see I'm leaving a little white space in between just to make it appear like clouds. So this is the first part. As I said that we will be having fun and enjoying, so there's no right or wrong in this. You can just take this very light blue that you have left on your brush and then just cover the whole paper with it. I'm not adding any more color, just pick it up from here and just add it. So we have covered the whole thing as of now. And then we'll just wait for this to dry and then move ahead. Alright, so we'll move on to the next part. We are going to paint a bougainvillea tree. And so I'm using this nice pink here. You can use any of the colors, purples, reds, yellows, any of the color in which these flowers are found. And so what I'm going to do here now is I will first go ahead, and this is nice and dry now, so I just take my clear water and apply it, so roughly in patches here and there. Okay, so this is nice and wet, and we'll just take the pink and I'm just going to drop it like this very lightly at a few places, and you can see how it is spreading and becoming lighter. this is called layering, and this is our first layer. You don't have to focus too much on these jargons or words, you just enjoy the process. So this is what you do. And then to speed up the drying, I'm going to use my hair dryer, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so this was our first layer. For second layer, we are using the same color, but this time we are going to use more pigment, which means we are going to load the brush with more color and less water. And while it is still wet, we just go and drop patches again like this. You can see how they are spreading. So I'm not doing much, just touching my brush and lifting it up like this at a few places. And also we want it to be random, so don't follow any pattern or anything. So this is what we are doing, is wet on wet, because the surface is wet, and we are applying wet color again on it. So like this, I've done a few patches here and there, just like this. And just wash my brush now. I'm using only this container. You can see this water is still nice and clean. Now I am taking one of the greens from here. This is the sap green, and this is still a little damp, so we have to work quickly. And now we will just go ahead and drop some green in between. And since the bougainvilleas don't have too much green when they are in full bloom, so that is what we want. So you can see I'm dropping it a little here and there. So again, what I'm doing is just touching my brush, and then once your brush is loaded, you just keep on adding, so that a few places will be dark, and as you lose the color, a few of them will be lighter. So very few here and there. Like this. Try to be random and not very symmetrical. Then you can come back to it, take more pigment on the brush, same like the flowers, and then here and there you can even make it darker by mixing a little brown to it. It gives it a nice olive green kind of a color. And then when you have that, you just drop that between at a few places, just dropping, just like this. Next we want to do a little stem on this, and for that we want this to dry, so we can wait for it to dry. And before that, we can also go ahead and create a base here. So with the same green that we had, I'm just making a line here and just wetting this whole area. And then you can use brown from your palette, and then you can just add it randomly, just to give the illusion of a muddy ground. Then again, take more pigment, and this time we are doing lines like this. Yeah, so that's it. We don't have to overdo anything, and then we just go ahead and dry this so that we can move ahead and do our stem. Alright, so this is now nice and dry, so we will use burnt umber here or any of the browns that you might have. Like this. And then for the stem you have to rest this part of your hand on the table and this part you have to move to get nice lines. So we'll start broad here, so I'm not drawing anything, and then just randomly take one and then maybe one more thinner one like this, and then in between wherever you see space or a little bit here over the flowers. So we are not going to overdo this because we assume most of it is hiding. So just like this, I think that should be enough. And then here we just go ahead and use the pigment that we had, and we'll add more water here, so this will blend. So there's nothing to be scared of in this. It's very simple and easy. And then we just go ahead and apply some finishing touches. As you can see, this has become a little light. So now we are going to add the third layer, which is again super bright. Lots of pigment and the same technique a little bit here and there. You can also mix a very little black to it to give it a very darker hint. So here I'm mixing a black, and then we can do that here near the stems where the bark is, like this, just to give a feel of shadow. And the same technique, I'm just touching the tip of the brush lightly here and there at a few places. You should have pigment in your brush, but don't use lumps of paint. Pigment is just color. Don't focus on any of the jargons or anything. Just enjoy your painting. So like this, I have added this darker one. Then I'll just go ahead and use some more pink. Just adding that. Don't overdo. Whenever you feel like you are liking the look of it, you can just stop. And there's no right or wrong. You can use whatever color you want. You can put as many shades as you want. It's all up to you. Just don't overdo. That's the only thing. And then the same thing we are going to repeat with the green. So here is our sap green. We'll use a darker version that we made before, and we'll just go ahead and drop the color at places like this, not everywhere, only at a few spots. As you can see, the paper becomes a little warped by the watercolors. So there are lots of techniques which you can use, which I tell in depth and detail in all my courses. Along with that, you'll also learn how to mix different colors, how to make your own colors. So that's it. And then I think this is it for this one. A little bit color has come up here, so not to worry about that. What you can do is just take water, just spread it. You can also use your tissue to dab and pick it up. That's fine. And then what we do is just wet this thing a little, and then just to give the illusion of dropped flowers, we just go ahead and drop a few flowers here. So not very close, a little bit far and randomly. Take darker pigment. Just like that, it will just, yeah, so that's it. So I think that is it for our very basic first painting of a flower tree. It is bougainvillea, or you can imagine it to be any other flower tree that you would have seen somewhere. And I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have painted along with me, I would love to see it, so don't forget to share it with me. If you like my tutorials, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to learn more in-depth watercolors, you can check out my Skillshare classes. In my latest classes, series of classes, I'm teaching how to paint these doors. As you can see, we have painted some flowering trees and these bougainvilleas and other trees, and lots of details like the bricks, the cracks on the doors. And I'm going to be doing a lot of these doors, colorful ones, and you can check them all out in my Skillshare. If you are not on Skillshare, you can join now using my link, which I have given below in the description, and you can get access to all of my classes and thousands of other classes for free for a whole month. So that's it for today. You can also visit my website by theartbug.com for more free fun resources and useful tips and techniques. And I will see you next Friday. Till then, take care, bye bye, and happy painting.